Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly, Uncensored.
Hello and welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. This is our off-air podcast that we do on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We obviously were off on Monday because of Memorial Day, but we're back today. Make sure to hit up our Miguel and Holly fam/platypus posse Facebook page. And how can I do that, Holly?
You just go to Facebook and just type in Platypus Posse. There's no other one. So you'll find it. You can join the group and then join discussions. And we'd like to try to keep the discussions to stuff that is either talked about on the show or on the podcast to further those discussions. Or if you just have something to share with like your fellow family members, you can't be spamming the page with nonsense. Then you'll have to get kicked out.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything is welcome.
And make sure to check out our other podcasts like Miguel and Holly Full Show podcast. And I implore you to take us with you this summer. I know that and I need to do better about getting all the other counties surrounding Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system, like Gaston County and Catawba and stuff like
Cleveland.
that. Yeah, I need to start getting those states because I think they've been out of school, which is why I think the phones have been a little wonky over the past week and a half.
I
Some
agree.
of those school systems have already gotten out.
Some Charlotte area schools ended the same time that Maya ended, which was last Friday.
Yeah, so that's why we can tell the phones are starting to get light.
Mm-hmm.
But if you still listen to the podcast, take us, the show, with you live if you're traveling somewhere this summer, or check out the podcast, Miguel and Holly Full Show podcast this summer.
People really do that. I'll never forget, Miguel, you were hosting, I think it was your first after party. And this guy goes up to me and he goes, man, my drive to Syracuse, I listened to the whole Blown Off podcast and I'm here a few drinks in and I'm like, that's great. Thank you.
You're
Thank you so much.
That's so cool.
Like your whole road trip. That's wild. So yeah, shout out to him.
Yes, that's the only thing.
It's content. I
mean,
mean,
absolutely. Because
something
people
fun to listen to.
100%. It's just trying to get the word out because we do so many things and you don't want to just spam people with like, here's how you can listen and here's the contest and here's what's coming up tomorrow. And so you got to pick and choose. So
it is tough and like there are so many podcasts and I can imagine if you're just a casual listener, that is going in one ear and out the other.
Right.
Because you're like, what in the hell are they talking about?
Right. So I tried to do
lot.
it. And it's just get to the Full Show podcast on the iHeartRadio app or anywhere you listen to podcasts and you can go from there.
Yeah.
Before we talk about our weekends and whatnot, I do wanted to give a little shout out to this book that I've started reading that I am like, remember Holly, I think the last book that you and I read at the same time was like The Hunger Games and how
that was it. Yeah.
That was like the last time, but like that was the last time I think where I would like come home and not even turn the TV on and I would just sit and read. And it's been since Hunger Games that's happened.
We were doing that in 2012.
Yeah, it's been that long.
So.
Well, there's another book that's caught my attention like that where I'm just like, can't wait to get home to read. And it's really good. And I'm like wanting to just probably going to be my Can't Let It Go this week on the air.
Ooh, okay.
It's called The Ministry of Time.
Oh, that sounds like it's fun. I'm already in. What is it?
So imagine a few years in the future, maybe 10 or 15, that the UK government has figured out time travel, but they can only bring people from the past to the present. And so what they've done, and we don't know the details yet because I'm still in the beginning of this book. We don't know like how it happens or like who they pick, or we don't know any of those details. But the story takes place of a person called a bridge. So if they brought you, Holly, from 1825 and you come into the future and then you're like, where am I? What's going on? The government basically puts you away for like a month and they're just sort of like, here's what's happened. We've brought you to the future. Let's slowly catch you up to speed as much as possible. But obviously there's going to be things that happen because that's very off-putting. And so the reason why the government is doing this is because they don't know physically how time travel will affect your body. So they're just like, let's just do all these medical tests, sort of catch up to speed. And then once they see that you're like somewhat okay, you live with a bridge. So let's say all of a sudden after a month, if you're okay, you're cleared, you meet with me, and then I'm your daily person. We're like roommates, basically, where I'm teaching you just in normal conversation and just living together and just going to dinner and living life. Here's what it means to live in the future.
Mhm.
So like a chapter I just finished yesterday where they have this captain from the 1800s, and he is just describing this voyage he went on. And he's like, yes. And then we had some N words on our thing. And the lady was like, we don't say that. But here's the thing. You can't like, because then he's like, well, what do you mean by race? Like racism, that doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
But did they get consent to pluck these people out of the 1800s?
So that's part of the story too, is that these are people that were going to die anyway. So like this guy was an explorer, and a part of the history books is that they like died. And so they know that like he's not going to go off to like have children and to do all this stuff. And so pretty much they're not changing history because they were already going to be dead.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so they
Yes.
were about
Good
to
loophole.
die.
Mhm.
But they,
Yeah.
well, wouldn't they also die in the future?
Can they get
I
Amelia
sometimes-
Earhart?
I
Mhm.
have. Oh,
No, and that's a part of it. Like I said, I'm still at the beginning, so
Yeah.
I don't know the mechanics of like why they've chosen these people, because they're starting to plant some seeds that there's like something else going on,
Mhm.
and that they're alluding to, foreshadowing. But anyway, so it's just been super fascinating, because it's not like, to me, this isn't like, 'cause I love time travel, but just understanding, and this author has done such an amazing job of, if you can't take what we know about just race and like feminism and all these things and then just directly apply it to someone from that time, because
Lord, no.
what they knew was non-existent than
You
what we
have
know
to
now.
build the framework in
Right.
which those concepts exist,
Right.
because otherwise you're just talking nonsense.
Right.
Mhm.
And so like one of the things that they've mentioned so far in the early chapters of this book is that like they haven't even mentioned to them like World War II, Hiroshima, the Twin Towers, because their thought of war and what
Different.
we know of war are completely different. And so that's why I just find the psychology of how this author is explaining someone from then into now so fascinating. Because normally in time travel books or movies, it's us going from the future to the past, and we have to assimilate and like hide the fact that we're from the future.
Right.
Mhm.
But what happens when you bring it now? And so that's why this has been like, I can't wait to get home and read some more.
That's
Mm.
good. It's good to get lost in a world.
Absolutely. So it's called The Ministry of Time. That's what I'm reading right now. So Holly, how was your Memorial Day weekend?
It was pretty good. I mean, we did all the things I said I was gonna do. So we did a beach day on Saturday, and then movies on Sunday, and pool day on Monday. So it was very family oriented, and I was trying to think, because we like to take events from like our lives and turn them into like show topics. And I really was having a hard time, because I was like, I know this makes me a bad radio personality, but like nothing we did caused anything to be like weird or crazy. Like it was just pretty run of the mill.
I was looking for
stuff.
those kind of things too. So I totally feel you.
I know, like, and I was really like racking my brain, especially last night, to be like, well, what interesting thing happened? And I always ask my fiance, and then he always just comes up with stuff that made him upset. Which I'm like, okay, but that's very specific. Like we went to the beach, and like the actual beach, not just the little St. Pete Pier beach, like Treasure Island Beach or whatever. And we had set up on the sand, and then we all waded out into the ocean and the Gulf. And I happened to notice, because I was a little farther back getting in the water, that he and his daughter were wading out, and they somehow, and there's no way they would have known it, but they waded into the middle of like a 50-yard game of catch in the water. There was like three groups of people that were like throwing a ball between them, and he and his daughter had just waded out into the middle of this, and the people were kind of like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, because I could see it happening, but it just looked like people.
Right.
And Wait, how are you supposed to know? He's like, how was I supposed to know? I'm like, that's not a good topic. But I'm sorry that happened to you.
You're like, I understand and I see. Thank you very much.
I see. And then the second thing that's like, he was mad at. He's like, do this for a topic. We have a Dunkin' Donuts by us that says they have 2 lanes. They don't. There is a lane where, you would pull in and you kind of have to drive around the building and like enter the drive-through there. But then they also have like a sort of a secondary lane, and there's a sign that says use both lanes. But the only people that can use that second lane are if you come in from the side and there's already a whole line of cars. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like there's like 5 cars in this line around the building.
Right.
And then someone can come in from the side and just come up here and boop, squeeze in. This is a thorn in the side of his, because he's like, that's not fair. They don't have to wait. I'm 5 cars back and this car's just coming in. And I'm like, I know it's not fair. It's not fair. But he's like, I could never have the audacity of these cars. And that's what happened on Saturday or Sunday morning. We're in the Dunkin' line. We had been in the Dunkin' line. Some younger woman pulls in and like, it's finally going to be our turn. But she has, and we've been waiting, and she just arrives in the second line. I say that with air quotes. And so he's like, she'll wait for us though, right? And I'm like, oh no.
No.
So the person in front goes and he starts to go and she sped in.
Oh.
And so we both just sat there and stared at her, and he like opens the window because the window was already open because he was going to order. And he's like, really? And I was like, wow.
Holly about to get shot at with her fiance.
Wow, really? And then this woman is just like, can I have an iced vanilla latte? Thanks. And then like rolls her window up and just, and I was like, oh my God. And he was like, bitch. And I'm like, hey, oh, we're not calling people the B word. We got Maya in the back. It was a mess. So those are my 2 stories that he thought were good stories. And then he had to apologize for saying the B word.
But you know what? Sometimes when that road rage happens, like it was not a switch that just flips. And there's something about being in your car where it's like you don't even think about why you're angry consciously. It just switches on. And then all of a sudden you're like, you fucking bitch. Like, because I've been there before because I feel like I'm always like, listen, I'm not in a hurry ever, usually. And so if you're in that much of a hurry to try to cut me off or to get into a parking spot before I am, I don't want to get shot. Go ahead. I will take my time and I'll go find something else, whatever. But then every now and then there'll just be that one time where it's like, I have been so nice and so patient to the entire fucking universe. Yeah. And now you think that you're so special that you can just zip into this parking spot that I've been sitting here with my blinkers on, patiently waiting for Susie to pack her whole 5 kids in. And now you're just going to squeeze in with your little short car. I have yelled out the B word to a woman before, and I felt really bad. Save that. You better not, bitch.
But he said he felt really bad.
I did, because it, like I said, it was one of those things where it just switched, where I don't remember what happened, but it was at a Publix in Tampa.
You don't have to be defensive too, by the way, because it does happen. And like
everybody.
I use bitch for men and women and anybody else.
But it was just like, I was just I don't remember what happened. But like, she thought that I did something wrong and I thought that she did something wrong. And I was just in my like, well, whatever. I'm not even going to be that worried about it. But then she rolled her window down and said something to me. And then that's when I was like, without missing a beat.
The switch just happened.
When I was just like, well, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see it. Some people can't see it. I can see it.
Your fucking head going.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh my God, where did that just come from?
I know, because you get that deep pit of like regret after just going in.
Yes.
Bitches
like,
be trying it though.
Like, your voice can do a couple different things. Like his voice he was like, because he was just like, really? And I'm over here, wow. And then I was like, as she rolls when he's like, bitch, like he just dropped down. I was like, okay. But I do get it, because like It's not fair. And like, fuck you, Duncan, for making it seem like that is an appropriate lane. Y'all are setting everyone up for fucking failure, which is slow ass anyway. So anyway, that was the some highlights of the weekend.
See, that ended up being a good story. That's a better podcast story. That would have been, because I wouldn't be able to say all that. And I feel like in order for me to truly tell my story, I need to be able to say FUB. Like that, I need to be able to say it.
Well, and that's the thing. You can't not say that story. I have to be a bitch.
Right.
Like that was
Like,
a
you
bitch
got
move.
to.
And that was a
B-word.
bitch move.
Yeah.
That was a bitch move. And then she had I don't remember the kind of car, but on the logo on the back of the car, like let's just say it's a Jeep, but I don't know if it was a Jeep. It was something. She had like put on like a cute little devil's tail with little devil horns, and I'm like, you are a fucking demon, bitch. But I didn't say that. I didn't say that shit because my child was in the back.
Right, of course.
She
But
thought
he
it,
did.
though. She
Ooh,
thought
bitch.
it.
So anyway, that
Kelbin,
That was a
did
fun
you
story.
cuss anybody out this Memorial Day weekend?
Not Memorial Day weekend, a few weeks ago, though. I know that we're past this, like the traffic stuff, but I had a similar situation. I crossed someone. So we were going into, we were crossing the street. The light was green, but there was traffic. But I was able to go in front of the person in the other lane because there was room to cross the street. And when I crossed
foot, or
it,
you're on foot?
in the car.
In car.
In the
Okay,
car.
so you went across the street
Correct.
around another person.
Correct. And she had thought that, I mean, it's not my fault she didn't want to continue on, but I did. I went across, like I changed lanes and there was room for me to go, even though we were in traffic. She finally, like she accelerates and she immediately is giving me the middle finger. And I was like, you're that fucking pissed? Like that's how mad you are? We're not even moving right now. You're just mad that you didn't move? And so we ended up catching up to each other eventually.
Ooh, that's the worst.
And that's why I'm like, I don't try to get mad anymore because eventually we will catch up. You want to cut me off, go faster, go ahead. We're both going to be at the same red light and you're going to look like a clown. Anyways,
that's why I just get to laugh.
That was last week. But no, this weekend was it was pretty good. Not chaotic as I thought it would. I had a friend from college come. She was my little, as they would say. I was part of National Broadcasting Society. And so she was assigned to me.
Did you have bigs and littles in that?
Yes, we did. Pretentious at UF.
Oh, that's a little wild.
Yeah.
But okay.
So
but that's fine. Y'all do y'all thing.
We immediately got connected. We got along so well and spent, those few chaotic years together and have great stories for days. And so she came to finally visit. She just became a mom about a year ago. And she is going through her separation with her dude. And so she was like, I just want to have fun. I want to relax. And I also want to eat all the good food. And it's going to be a great time. And so I had a little bit of pressure to really show her off Charlotte. And I didn't. There was no moment in time based on like all the activities that we did where I could be like, oh, this is South End. This is Noda. This is Uptown. But for the most part, it was pretty fun. She came Friday night. We just chilled. Saturday, we went to the mall. She really wanted more clothes. And I was like, sure, we could do that. And then we ended up going to Midwood Smokehouse. And we went and we got like that platter that kind of serves everything.
Yeah.
I love a sampler. I love a sampler platter.
So good. Then after we ate, we were like, so do you want to explore? And she was like, honestly, I want a nap.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Those are the best friends that visit, girl.
I feel like
Good.
sometimes you need to build in naps when you're visiting people because you just get tired.
Right. Doing things back to back is exhausting. So we decided to go back to the apartment. And then by that point, we started getting ready to go out. There was Georges. She's one of the drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race. She came to Charlotte to perform. And so I brought her out. There was a few gays out. I think I feel like a lot of the gays were out this weekend. Not all the ones I usually see on the weekends were there, but I got to bring her over. She got to meet a few of my friends. And then we just went out the whole night. We went to that club. Then we went to another club in Charlotte called Argon, danced a little bit there, hung out with that said drag queen for a bit. And then that was that. We went to an after party. Pretty chill. Nobody got chaotic. Nobody got super drunk. Actually, we drank Sprite and Fireball the whole night.
Oh my gosh.
I promise you, I had about five or six cocktails.
Oh my God.
And I fit in a vodka soda because a friend bought me one. The bartenders were cringing at us ordering it every single time.
Yeah.
We woke up the next morning, absolutely no hangover. Both her and I were shocked.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Shocked.
And you said Fireball and Sprite.
Fireball and Sprite. And the first sip that we took, we were like, oh, what is this? Why did
That's
we
like
do
some
this?
nonsense where like it's freshman year and you're just cobbling together what's in each other's rooms.
Yeah.
I think that's how it was concocted because that was our drink in college. So we took the sip. The first thing she said was, oh my God, all the memories are flooding back. And it wasn't until we were finished with the first cocktail where we looked at each other and we were like, do you want another one? And she was like, fuck yeah. So we had them all night.
That's amazing. I mean,
It
good
was
for
lovely.
y'all.
It was lovely. We had a great time. Then Sunday, what did we do Sunday? I can't remember what we did in the daytime. Oh, we got facials. We took her to go get some facials at Clean Your Dirty Face. And then at night, I hosted the Chromatica Ball music film, which hosting, like I invited 4 friends over.
Right.
We had some good food, some chicken wings and stuff. And then Monday, we went to Carowinds. And surprisingly, the lines weren't too bad. The weather was perfect. We got to ride
awesome.
all the insane rides. I had a fantastic weekend.
I bet she did too. Like, especially if she got a little baby and she's going through a separation, like you just lose yourself. And so she did not need to be like, oh, I'm glad I visited South End. Nobody gives a
Right.
nobody gives a shit. They're just in a different city with their friend having fun. So it does not matter that you weren't a tour guide for the city of Charlotte.
Right.
It's fine. That was just the backdrop anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
That sounds like a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a high school college friend. She visited. Her brother lives here in Charlotte. He's a manager at one of the Top Golfs that we have. So they were staying with him, her and her husband and her 2 babies. And so we met up Saturday for brunch. And it was just so fun to get to see them like as parents now, because I've known her, for now half of my life, and I've known her husband now for a very long time. And so just seeing them just pull into, because we met them at a place in South End. So it's like, excuse me, a lot going on. And there's like a lot of young people. And so seeing them drive in with like their van, and then they all of a sudden get out the stroller, and then like toys and stuff come clawing out of the car. And I'm like, well, this is a lot different than like a year ago or 2 years ago when we would meet up somewhere in Savannah and it would just be like mad chaos. So just seeing her as a mom was just really cool, because I know that's something that she's wanted for all of her life. And so just seeing her and her husband and like how well they work together, because it truly needs to be a team, when you're in that situation. And so just seeing, just the 2 of them like pick up. And so Abe and I were just sitting back and watching everything happen. But it was funny because we got to the restaurant, and when the waitress came over and she was like, what would y'all like to drink? And she looked at her husband and was like, you're driving. I'm going to have the margarita and I'll do the big one. No salt. Thank you. And I was like,
yep.
Mama said I'm ready.
That's my MO. We go out and I'm like, the margs for mom. Thank you very much.
She was so ready. So we had lunch with them, and then we went to we brought them over back to our house so they can take a look at where we're living and all that stuff, and then just hung out for a little bit. And I got to hold their new little baby. It was so
cute, by the way. And I'm so mad. Like, she doesn't realize that I split my time. She didn't before now. Because like she and I had corresponded, because I think when she had the new baby, I had messaged her about something, and she's like, well, I'm going to be in Charlotte over Memorial Day weekend. And I was like, she's like, I can't wait to see you. I'm like,
sorry,
not gonna be there. But I was genuinely sad because I am in my baby era. And when I say that, I mean, I want to see someone else's baby. I want to see and hold someone else's baby. And so I couldn't, and I was really upset in my own head, and telling me that, like, who cares about my feelings about the fucking babies that aren't mine. But when I saw the picture on your Insta story, Miguel, I was just like, oh, they're so squishy. Like, I just want to squish it. I just want to hold it and smell it, and then give it back.
Right, and be like, here you go, here you go, here you go.
Give it back.
And she's gonna be so pretty, because my friend, my college high school friend, she's Asian and her husband is white. And so they were like going back on like the features and how, like, she's at that age now where like every day she looks a little bit different or something.
Yes.
And so they were saying like one day she looks like the Asian side, one day she looks like the white side. So they're like, we don't know what the hell she's gonna look like when she gets older, but she's gonna be gorgeous.
Yeah.
So that was just super exciting. And then we went to a little pool party Saturday with some new gays that we hadn't met before. And this is something that we've run out of time. We have to go have a meeting. I apologize. But I just feel like there are so many gay couples that I have met in Charlotte that are in thruples.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
And
You do bring this up frequently.
Well,
Like more frequently than I feel like one person should bring up thruples.
and it because I remember the first time I met like a throuple, it was an industry person in the radio world, but they worked on the record side, and I was meeting them and our old boss for dinner. This was a couple years ago, and I knew the record person and their partner, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, and this is our boyfriend," blah blah blah, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh.
I okay."
And all you do in that, you're just like, nice to meet you.
You're like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And so that was like, oh, and then I just feel like since we've gotten more into the Charlotte world and like we're meeting more different people than we see out and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, this is this person's house. You know, these are the boyfriends, and then that's their, you know, their third person that's in their relationship. And I'm just like, so what questions are we allowed to ask? Because I
don't think any, but also all and none.
Like, what are the rules?
Right. Like, and I couldn't. So anyway, so I spent half the like pool party, like just trying to like chat with him about different stuff and seeing if there was a good way to sort of angle in and like ask a question, because I was just like, so who owns this house? And like, who are the original
tell
two?
Me who owns what?
Who's on the deed? Like, does someone live separately? Like, how does this work? So that was interesting, but I'm so sorry. We have run out of time because I have an important meeting I have to get to, but we'll be back on Friday. Producer Kelbin, what's your social media people can find you on?
At Kelbin Live, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.
And if you follow Producer Kelbin's Instagram, you can see that he announced that he was in a throuple this weekend on Instagram.
Platonically.
Is that not just called friendship?
No, that looks a little bit more, because y'all be having this third man doing stuff like he's sleeping in y'all bed.
Yo,
so I don't
he
know.
takes care of my dogs. We be cuddling sometimes. I love that man as a friend.
Holly, what's your social media?
Radio Holly on all the things.
You'll see no thruples on Holly's Instagram.
No, you shall not. Thank you very much. I can't handle like I can't wrap my mind around thruples. I really like I'm not judging, but I'm also judging a little because I'm like, I couldn't do it. So I don't know. I can't. My brain is like, it does not compute.
You see Miguel in public. He looks like he's in a quad octuple.
He rolled deep.
He rolled real deep.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Hey. Octagon.
Yeah. If you want to see my octagon with several different white Charlotte gays, you can follow me at Miguel Fuller on Instagram. All right. We'll see y'all on Friday. Bye.
Miguel and Holly